Switch spots probably for Carrie, but well, here we are. Are we all set to go? We've started? Okay, good. Well, I have with me Tom and Kari Davidson, and many of you, probably most of you know Tom and Kari, but some of you don't. And those watching the video won't, these will hopefully age well if things go well in your lives and in the heritage that you share here. But Tom and Kari Davidson have been a long time, I can even say Kari has been a long time member of the church. I would say you've probably been in the church 25 years. Would it be before 2000?
26 would have been when we were, or 99.
99? Okay, Tom, anything?
99 when we were married.
99, okay, yeah. And then I think you were in town here, or did you come just after you were married?
After married, yes.
Same with you, Kari.
After we were married, yes, I moved up here.
Nice. Did you notice last week Ruth Hunt did such I really kind of pressed that, and then she just was a good learner. She's so, it's a trick, that coordination. But longtime members and very active in the church. When I think of Tom, it goes, and I'll just summarize this quickly, but very involved in youth ministry, even well before you were married, and then became a YBI teacher in about probably 2002 or somewhere in that range, soon after we started, and then has also been on the elder board, never on the trustee board, have you? You've been on trustee board? This is great. Let's just not have Tom mic'd at all. He just has to shake his head. Served on the trustee board and the elder board, a couple stints on the elder board. And then when I think of Kari, you can correct me, I think of the nursery as being you were kind of at a post with my mom probably for a number of years.
That was the best.
That was the best?
I had Sally Luther, Sandy Bauer, and your mom.
And technically, be in the nursery, you have to be one of the workers. But back then, they even allowed you to be in there if you happen to have a child in the nursery. And for a couple decades, Kari was in there just with her own kids. Just a steady stream of kids in the nursery. I did plan that one out, Kari. I thought about that. And she's currently overseeing the communion and baptism ministry at the church, providing support for those. And probably other ways you guys have been involved, very involved in the life of the church. Men's Bible study, Tom does now. But then I would say also just the organic life of the church, very, very active. And not that you have to do everything, and there are a lot of things that, people just can't do them all. But then I think, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but I think with the Davidsons, we've just enjoyed so much. I guess I've had kind of a front row seat, but you kind of have too. With a generational passing, your parents raised you in the church, Tom, and both of you came from smaller families, 2 kids in each, and then they have this, we had a kid, Davidsons had a kid, we had the next kid, they had another kid, we had a third kid. They're kind of copying us, third kid, and then we stopped. And 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And then it's just kind of become this really neat, the Davidson family has kind of become its own thing. So that's been a really exciting part of them. So let's pray as we open our time, and then I really can't wait to start asking Kari questions. You guys, that's what we're going to jump into. What's that?
Make it a long prayer.
Make it a long prayer, she said. Lord, thank you for this time, and just bless Tom and Kari, and more than just for this hour, but certainly for this hour, but just bless them, Lord. We need families in this church that know you and walk in your ways and are willing to engage the challenges of raising kids, and willing to engage the challenges of exposing them to culture and to temptations and to the path towards independence, but also protecting them and nurturing them and providing boundaries. And it's been fun to engage that struggle and challenge alongside the Davidsons, and to see the many ways that you've blessed this family. So thank you for this time now to just talk about the broader story. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, Carrie, remind me, and some of this I have to be reminded, are you born and raised in Fort Atkinson?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
I don't think we know what she said, do we? Yes, you were. Okay, good. And like even just the same
Oh, I'm sorry.
house and everything? Or?
No, I'm sorry. I was born in Watertown.
Watertown.
My parents lived in Lowell, Reeseville, Lake Mills, and then Fort Atkinson.
And how old were you when you moved to Fort Atkinson?
3rd grade?
Oh, okay. So you weren't, yeah, I guess. I'm learning things too, or being reminded. You know, the more you forget things, you have more to learn because you've lost things again.
That comes a lot easier as you get older.
Yeah, exactly. More opportunities, right? Give us a little of your family dynamic. Your dad, what he did for work. Your mom, what she was, what your family, your siblings. Give that a basic idea of your family.
My dad worked at Crepaco for a long time. He was a truck driver, and then there were a couple more companies, but basically a truck driver his whole career. My mom, when we were in school, she worked at McDonald's in Lake Mills and was able to work after we left for school and then be done before we got done home from school.
Okay.
And once we moved to Fort Atkinson, she helped out at the church. She helped the secretary at the church do whatever needed to be done. And I have one older brother. He's a year and a half older than I am.
That close.
And he lives in Laval.
Was your dad, as a truck driver, did your dad do the long drives, but it was...
No, he was home every night.
He was home every night?
Yep.
Okay, so
But late.
yeah, intact home and,
Yep.
and a sibling a year and a half older.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know they were that close. You guys were a little further apart with Tim.
Yeah, we had 3 years
3
separating
years
us on
apart.
there.
Okay, yeah. And when you said your mom helped at the church, were they involved in the church before you moved to Fort Atkinson? You were involved in a very good church in Fort Atkinson.
We moved into a duplex, and the neighbors above us, John and Sally Malner, brought my parents to church and my family as well. And I think I was 4 when we began there, and by the time I was 6, I was saved.
Wow, okay, good. And then to tease out a little bit, that church ended up being kind of that'll become part of the connection that even you guys have, but our pastor at First Baptist, when we had, in our church's history, we had like new pastors every 2 years. Until Carl Zwart came, it was 18 years. It was a very different thing. And then with Pastor Dave, he was here 31 years. But Carl Zwart was a much-loved pastor here at the church. And when he left, kind of back in those days, when you'd leave, you just kind of, you don't go back, you don't visit, you let the next guy do their thing, and you don't want people. And he made his way down to, I would say it was kind of Whitewater / do you think he lived in Whitewater? Or?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is Whitewater very close to Fort
Yeah,
Atkinson?
he lived there first, and he ended up moving to Johnson Creek after they built a new home there.
Okay, yeah. But they attended the same church. So your whole upbringing, did you kind of, I guess you would have been more in your teen years?
Yes, my teen years.
More in your teen years. You kind of, did you get to know
Oh, yeah.
Pastor Zwart
We were
and
good
Jan?
friends, yes.
Okay, they
He
were
played
involved
at our wedding.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He was involved in your wedding. Yeah. So that was kind of that's going to be. We don't want to get to the Tom and Kari story quite yet. So tell me about your faith. You said you received Christ at 6. Tell me a little bit. So you grew up understanding the truths of Scripture, and then what happened that you made a profession of faith? Is that a story?
I was like growing up in church. What do you mean?
Like, was there a night where you went to your mom and said, was it with your mom? Was it at church?
Remember it.
You don't remember it?
No.
Okay. You don't have to remember
No,
it.
I don't.
But it's such a special time, I would think you would. No, I'm just kidding. You could tell I like to pick on
I
Kari a
remember
little
when I
bit.
was a freshman, we were on a youth trip to Colorado. And during that week-long trip, I rededicated my life to Christ. And
Nice.
so
Okay.
build from there.
So for most of your years, you would say you grew up in the church. Were you kind of like the Davidsons? My little 49ers, I would consider the Davidsons 49ers, which means they're here 52 weeks of the year. But of course, they've got a cabin up north, so they are gone a little bit, but you're essentially here every week kind of folks. Did you grow up kind of that way too, would you say?
I think so.
Yeah.
We were there at church a lot.
Very
so
active,
It was just part of life. It was.
Yeah, went to Sunday school,
Yep.
learned all the stories. Teen years, was that a real critical time for your faith? Tell me a little bit more about you rededicating your life or what. You were very involved in the youth group there. Was it called
yes.
Faith Christian, or what's the name
Faith
of it?
Community.
Faith Community, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was there when I can. The youth leaders were very good friends, all of them, and I enjoyed it, and I don't know.
You were just at a particular retreat or event when you rededicated Christ, or don't you remember that?
I do remember
You know,
that.
okay.
We're in Colorado.
In Colorado. I'm sorry, you said in
Yes,
Colorado.
yeah.
What were you in Colorado for?
Every year they would take a trip. The youth group would take a trip, and it would be 2 years, I believe, of fun trip and then one mission trip. And that year was a fun trip to Colorado and Steamboat Springs, and
Nice.
I don't know, the speaker was wonderful.
Okay. And really made a
Yeah.
call to commitment.
Yeah.
And then they had a time where you could either raise your hand or in prayer, or did you have to walk forward or something?
Just to myself.
Okay, nice. That was real memorable.
Yep.
Okay, good. And so that was, you said late teens? 16?
Freshman year.
Freshman year. Okay, so what would that be? 14, turning 15 that year. And so really didn't have a stretch in there where you kind of questioned things or got real rebellious.
No.
I don't know rebellious Carrie, but yeah, basically walked in the faith all the way through.
Yeah, I had an older brother. I knew what not to do.
And I actually have that in my notes, not your brother, but I think that's something that all three of us had, and not to rip on our brothers, and we'll talk about that a little later, but the impact of having older siblings that struggled and how that impacted us. And I think Tom and I have connected on that, and I'd be interested to hear you share. Again, we're not, it's God's providence, how he uses, a parent that goes, kind of off the rails, or even an older sibling that doubts and questions and challenges things. And we see that in our church. In fact, I was just encouraging, I'm gonna peek around, make sure they're not in here. But, encouraging a family that they're kind of going through that and saying, I don't know what the Lord is doing, but sometimes the Lord uses the tensions or even rebellion of one child in the family to positively impact the others. So maybe we'll talk about that in a second. But Tom, all right, a little relief for Carrie. Give us the basic idea of your family structure. I think, again, a lot of people know your family, but not everybody. What kind of home were you raised in? What did your dad, mom do? And a little bit about what life was like in the Davidson home.
So basic, you're saying, okay.
Yes. No such thing for Tom.
Yeah.
He said, you said basic, I heard detail. Yeah.
For sure.
Fire away, Tom.
Grew up in a church, like you said on there. I guess step back on there. Have parents that, one, my mom and my dad's parents were divorced when he was in 9th grade, and actually met my grandpa Davidson about when I was 14 or 15 for the first time. So
wow, yeah.
It was about when he was 14 or 15, and I think that part really started to shape him as a leader of a home at a much earlier age than probably desired. But his two older brothers were just finishing high school, going off to college and military, and that kind of left him as the leader of a home. And he had five brothers and 2 sisters that were mentally handicapped. They went to Shepherd's Home, and then my mom's side, my grandparents were missionaries for 60 years. So they
Wow, okay.
Took nothing overseas, but grew up in Sand Lake, Michigan, and the main ministry was in the UP in northern Wisconsin, and they would primarily go to churches that had church splits, and would become the acting pastor for 5 to 7 years, and then reestablish an elder board, deacons, trustees, all that stuff, and just get a church back healthy again, and then move on to a new one.
Your mom's side was more the conservative Baptist?
Correct,
And
yeah.
not, I don't mean that as a technical term. Out, in Denver, they have or Colorado, they have the conservative, but a very conservative, Baptistic. And then your dad, just since you teased that out, was he not raised in a Christian home, or is dad? Was it just a broken home, but mom was faithful?
They were raised in a Christian home.
Okay,
and just
he had received Christ along the way,
Correct.
growing up, both of them, but mom's was very intact and mission-minded. Dad's had some challenges, and a lot of kids for a broken home.
correct.
How many, did you say 8?
8, yeah.
Okay. Anybody remember Faith and Hope? Tom's brothers, yeah, okay, all the Davidson kids know Faith and Hope. Thank you, Marabath. But yeah, love those two. I love those two. And your parents are all essentially healthy, and you've got grandparents that are very involved with the family. And how did you come to receive Christ, Tom?
Actually, one of the pictures on there was Mrs. Posh, right there.
Tom went all in on pictures here.
And not that I am a big picture person, but this was a happenstance.
Yeah.
This was at the 175th celebration, and she happened to be there. And so she was our children's church teacher, and not specifically, she did not, wasn't, but just she was faithful in bringing the good news of Christ every day, with the little Eager Beaver pamphlets and all that stuff.
I remember those.
And remember vividly sitting at the top stairs of our home on 7th Street there, and my mom led me to the Lord there. So
Wow.
And then I think it was it 10 or 12
Trusty.
when we end up
Trusty
getting
Tom.
there's me with
The bowl cut.
bowl cut and good church Kool-Aid mustache right there.
Did you? Okay. I don't see that. Nice. I didn't get Carrie on there. Oh, look at Carrie. That's the Carrie we didn't know. Yeah.
For sure.
Nice.
But then was baptized at the Jefferson Street Church.
Yeah.
And
We didn't do the outdoor
no,
baptisms growing
it
up.
was
Yeah.
all indoor. In fact, it was the best hiding spot when we played
Hide and
go
seek.
in
Yeah.
the church on there.
It's like
so.
something covering over the top, and
Yeah.
you go underneath that. Yeah. Right.
That in the furnace room. I think that's probably why I got in the heating and cooling businesses.
That's true. Well, let's talk a little bit about the older siblings. And again, it's God's providence, but yeah, my brother definitely was the one in our family. Sorry, Brad. Who it was very hard for him to track through with faith, and especially in high school. And he would kind of do it, show up what was necessary, but it was very. Very, very different or difficult for him. Did you guys? How did you process that? Did you kind of think, well, maybe I want to think like him, or did you say, oh, this isn't right? I can tell. Did it help you to see things more clearly, or what was your experience with that? Let's start with Carrie.
No, I did not want to be like him.
Yeah. You from
Fights
very
and-
early on could fights
Yeah, in high
with
school.
you in particular?
No.
No. He was getting into trouble, and
Yeah.
you just Well, I wouldn't imagine the fights, Carrie. Yeah. Carrie Watson. What school did you graduate? Was it Fort Atkinson High School? Yeah. Do you think it helped you or have you really not thought about that much?
I don't know. I was a very easygoing child. I don't.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody know Darlene, her mother. I don't know your dad as well. He has. Do you get your quiets more from dad? Yeah. But mom is just so funny and fun, and totally different than Carrie. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, she is. She's very, very. I don't know. She's like me. No, I'm just kidding. No, she's very sarcastic, and we just pick at each other and laugh about things, and a lot of joy. And I can tell you were raised, I assume, raised very well, and received a lot of love and affection in the home. How about you would you say that, am I onto nothing with all this brother stuff? Do you think that helped you to see things more clearly?
Yeah, I definitely think that you first of all knew exactly what made mom and dad real mad.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to wade through of wondering that.
Right. Well said, Tom.
You had that. You understood the also the consequence side of things.
Yeah.
Of, discipline and not that I didn't have my fair share of poor choices and discipline on my own, but it did have a means, and it was real hard. My mom and dad were both involved into the church. My mom played the organ with Miss Ruth playing the piano, and my dad was a deacon and involved in the church that way. And it's there was definitely some tensions that were hard growing up with that, and kind of at wit's end of knowing how to deal with that. And there was Christian counseling. Remember going down and to Madison, right by 102.5, and there were points in times I was like, why am I here?
Interesting. Okay.
But
yeah.
It was meant for family dynamic to really help process through all those things on there. And it was difficult. He I think it was about 6th grade, he just finally said, I'm not going back to church anymore. And was defiant. And my mom and dad, trying to their best of their abilities, but understood that you're making your own decisions right there, and there's not enough groundings or spankings that are going to correct this problem. Yeah. And allowing that, and to this day, I look at the home was through the tensions and hardship on there, very loving, and I look at my dad, especially during discipline time. He was very cool-minded, way better than I've ever dealt with on there. Just he was able to process things and bringing the not doing things out of frustration or anger. And his phrase, of course, this is going to hurt you or hurt me more than it hurts you. And I always kid him now, is, you were never the one leaving the room crying on there. But I don't know if anybody else had that key phrase growing up.
Yeah.
But very rule-oriented home, and you knew that there was rights and wrongs on there.
Yeah, and I've shared that with Tom. I remember that it was a little different than and I think sometimes you have to figure out what you guys are going to do, and I like, even as families that are very close and know each other very well, there are certain things the Davidsons are a thumbs down on that the Gundersons are a thumbs up, or that the Gundersons were a thumbs down on that the Davidsons. There's those gray areas. The Apostle Paul refers to them in Romans 14, as disputable matters, but areas that you have to decide for yourselves. And each family has to do that. And I remember, growing up with your family, kind of being like a little bit of culture shock. First of all, Sunday, Mom would have the roast in there. We'd do first service. You get home, and the meal was at noon sharp. When I'd go to the Davidsons, it'd be like noon went by, 1 o'clock went by, and I'd be like, we're starving.
The roast started at noon.
Yeah. And at 2 o'clock they'd eat, and I just didn't know anybody. I mean, they were so regimented, but my family was, and then they were definitely more strict, and just look back with fondness at it. But at the time it was kind of like, whoa, no elbows on the table. Like I didn't even know that was a thing, and I didn't know if I did that or not, But you just were, and they were never strict with me or us, but I could see them saying things to you guys, and I was kind of like, ooh, I was a little, I don't say intimidated, and of course as you become older, all that fades altogether. But for a while in there, I think I was. And the other thing was how slow Tom could eat his potato chips. He was a very slow eater, and we Gundersons, especially when we eat at 2 o'clock, we eat fast. But yeah, wonderful. Every family has its own dynamic, and we'll talk a little bit about your guys's and a few things there. But so adolescence, you would say the faith was not a challenge. You went all the way through high school, public school, all the way through. And then what did you do, Carrie? Remind me. I know you worked at the fireside. Did you just jump into employment right away? What did you do after high school?
I did not go to college. I went right to the fireside.
It was fireside was your job. Had you worked some other jobs before that, or that was the first full-time?
I did the business course through high school, and so my senior year I did classes first half, second half went to work.
Oh, okay. They did that back then. I didn't. Did we get those options, Tom? To
Maybe not as regiment, but you could do work outside
release?
2-hour release. Yeah, work release.
Wow.
Isn't that
work
more
release?
That's more precedent, isn't it?
The work release program. Carrie was on.
Popeyes, right?
Did we all hear that? Carrie was on the work release program in high school, but we're not talking about it because Carrie didn't know. And so you had worked there for a number. How many years did you work at the fireside?
I think 4.5 years.
Okay, yeah. So that was a big part. How many of you been to the fireside dinner theater? Yeah, that Carrie.
All the mailings you used to get and happy birthday stuff, that was Carrie's job on there.
Okay, nice. All right, well, let's just stop right there and then go back to Tom for just a little bit. Now, you've shared this part of your testimony a number of times, but I don't know, we were hanging out together a lot. Tom has lots of pictures. Going to the Grand Canyon. Where am I? Second from the left, I guess, in the back. Tom's in the front with the sunglasses with John Dominguez. And then John Wright is on the
with the cowboy
second
hat.
From the right, cowboy hat. Paul Quinn in the back. Anyways, the classic picture there. But we hung a lot, did a lot of youth group stuff. We knew right from wrong, both from our brothers, but we were well discipled, probably doing Bible studies and things like that with Neil. And so I would say you and I both just walked with the Lord through high school. And then, when did you start to feel like you had kind of not been walking as closely with the Lord? Was it after you moved away, or am I remembering that correctly?
I think through high school there were moments and times, you had friendships that were within the church, and then you had friendships that were not. And then going to tech school, I went to La Crosse up at the tech school there for 2 years, and you just had different opportunities. And I remember, first of all, getting up there, I was the first person in our house. We started, I think it was 2 weeks before the University of La Crosse started, and we had no power or anything like that. And so you're in a house with really nothing,
Wow.
and you're getting the power turned on, you're getting the phone, back in the day with landline, all that good stuff. And it was just a real crossroad time right there where you kind of have grown up with a faith that you had your own, but a lot of it was under the umbrella of your parents. And I remember walking around La Crosse and, just kind of that Truth Project. Do you really believe what you really believe is really real? And that point where it was an impactful time where you know, if you're going to have faith, you're going to have faith on your own. You know, mom's not going to be there to wake you up for church on Sunday or whatever. You know, that was not that she did that. I had a paper route, but
Right.
but those, you know, you're going to have to find your way to church. Actually, find a church and become involved.
Yeah.
Be involved with
Your
Campus
parents really
Crusade.
let you make a lot of those
Yeah.
choices to find, not sink or swim, but a little of, well, now it's your turn to figure
Correct.
this out. Yeah.
But yet, also in those lacrosse is known for their parties and all that stuff. And a couple of my friends that were not believers would go to a lot of parties, and they had mouths that would get them into trouble. And so I would go along and just kind of make sure that they made it home.
Got home, yeah.
And just in that lifestyle, and you start to have the abilities to compromise what you know is not right. And it was really after the summer that we, after your first year up in Northwestern, I was a benefit of your challenges that you had with your roommates, and
Yeah.
you bringing it back in the summertime there, and just having really good conversations of what this walk with the Lord is, and you know, not just the portion of your life that comes on Sunday, you know, and whether you take it to work, whether you're doing that while you're playing softball in a competitive lifestyle, you know, whatever it is, that's your relationship with the Lord is supposed to be that real.
And I think our friendship was, I mean, Tom was just a great friend to have. I mean, that expression, he'd give you the shirt off his back. I think that was from Tom. Like, they came up with that, you know, from Tom. Because you'd go on trips, like we go on a trip like that, you'd ride in the van for 35 hours, and you're kind of hiding your stash of cookies or something. And Tom he's just sharing everything. He literally, oh, you like that? You want it? You know, he just had this very generous spirit to him. And so, I mean, he had friends. Everybody liked Tom. But I think, you know, when I went off to school and got so excited about my faith, it was like I needed somebody to talk to about it. And, you know, everywhere I was going, I was sharing. And Tom we'd always been friends. But I think the nature of our relationship became dramatically changed, even though we did all sorts of stuff, did a lot of canoe trips with Paul, but then and hung out at Paul. Everything kind of related around Paul.
Lifted weights in your garage.
Okay, that was without
Yeah,
Paul.
That's the only thing that was without
Lifted
Paul.
weights in the garage, yeah. But it just, the nature of the relationship, and maybe you have that, other relationships that are very real, but the substance of it matters. And when I came home and I was like, was it around maybe the first summer, but then also, or maybe it was when we got wisdom teeth out. I don't know. I remember just going back and forth with Novocaine and everything, but just talking about what Christ was doing and how he meant everything. And
I had mine out in 9th grade, so
I remember yours. You got so sick from that one, but yeah, mine was the fall of, I think, my first year at Northwestern. But in any case, Tom was that guy that came alongside me, and you know, you need somebody when you're sharpening, as iron sharpens iron. You needed somebody like that, and all of a sudden, he was really game for it, you know. And then we famously, you know, I just told him, I don't know, maybe after the next summer, I don't know when it was, but I had shared, oh man, we did something. It was so probably unnecessary, but it felt so necessary at the time. We wanted to get rid of everything that didn't glorify God specifically in our lives. So then we just started looking through our books and our music, and we just started destroying specifically all the old music. And then that was an area you've shared in your testimony where that was an area of compromise. You felt like the Lord really got a hold of you.
Yeah, and I remember like when we had first talked about it, you know, and I want to paint the page. It wasn't out of judgment. I think that's the beautiful part about it on there. It was a comment alongside, but whenever you challenge somebody into where they're comfortable, there is a little bit of a, pushback. And and I remember going through my mind, it's like, I just listen to it to lift weights and all that stuff on there, and I don't even know any of the words. And it was like that moment, the rush of all these lyrics going through your head, and knowing that wasn't honoring, first of all, to God, but to any other person, especially women. A lot of the music is just derogatory on there. Yeah. And it was a portion of time that really you felt real, and it cut you right there. Mm-hmm. And knowing what we know now, that was preparing for my future wife.
Carrie says she wasn't attracted to people that listened to the really crass, heavy music. What was your famous line with that? That if
wouldn't have never
if
even
you had
dated
even
him,
known that
him
he
the
had,
time of day.
if you had known him at the time, what was the distinction there?
I wouldn't have dated him.
If you had known him it just would have poisoned the pot of your impression of him. You wouldn't have been attracted to somebody that had, how about knowing that he had listened to it? I mean, you did have an idea of grace and stuff, but it was just an attraction thing. You would have, what would be your reason you wouldn't have dated him?
I don't know.
I haven't really. She said, that's as far as I've gone with that thought. It just, you would have been like, that isn't the type of character.
That was not checked.
A box that was not checked, yeah. So Carrie said that needed to go. So who knew that years before you met that you had gotten rid of some of that for the Lord, but it ended up being a plus for your relationship with Carrie. She wasn't looking to do some missionary dating. Correct. In her mind. She wanted fully committed from the start, or at least at the starting point that you met him. Yeah. She's giving me that serious look now. Don't ask me any more tough ones, Dan. So yeah, okay, good. So you and I both were just walking with the Lord hard. We started doing Bible studies every summer. Every week we'd get together on Tuesday nights, I think, and get together
at the Collins, if I remember right.
I think eventually, at least the first one was at my house.
Yep.
We did the Gospel of Mark at mine. I can't remember which book we went through at the Collins house. I think I saw Cheryl.
She was here this morning.
This morning.
She's going to be at the baptism.
Yeah,
of course,
her
'cause you have
Anne's girls are getting
Yep.
baptized, which is very exciting. So, okay, good. Well, let's get to what has to be shared, and what happened that you guys ended up meeting one another. Who wants to tell that story? Who first heard about who? Did you? Well, let's get Carrie involved again. This is something Carrie can do.
The precept of our marriage is, this is it right here, that whenever we do any public stuff on there, I answer all the questions. This is all her list right here. Of, I'm supposed to be speaking the whole time. No,
I didn't hear about that.
Him.
That's why you married him. You would never have to talk again. Yeah. Well, okay. I'll at least jump
Unless
in, and then you got to tell me how it started. But the first time I met Carrie was in the Twin Cities. You guys came up for a weekend or something, for a period of time. And Tom wanted to introduce this gal that he had been dating, and she came up and was as nice as can be, but really hardly said a thing the entire time. And I had said to Tom, and we won't go into it, Tom had dated before, and there was a very, very nice family, very nice girl in the family. You would have thought, well, that's a match. But the one thing that always bugged me about her, it was clear that she did not get Tom. You know how that works? Sometimes, everything, the resumes match up. But when Tom would be Tom, she would always kind of look like she was embarrassed. Like his humor, Tom's humor, right?
It's not funny.
He would throw out a lot of puns and funny things. They were like, groaners a little bit, but it was fun, and it was Tom, and you'd laugh because it's Tom. And she just she just did not get him at all. And then Carrie, even though she didn't say a lot, you could just tell that she kind of, I don't know, dare I say, she kind of adored thought he was so cute. And so, I don't know, she at least
She still laughs.
She still laughs. So, okay, well, tell me how you guys, is it you, Tom, that's going to carry this through? How did you hear about Tom, or did he hear about you first?
I can go from there.
Are you going to, do you want him to do it? Okay.
So we had some with the church down in Fort Atkinson. My dad was going to Whitewater in college, and so was a part of this church before they had built the new church, and had some family friends that we would meet down in Madison once a year.
Your dad had connections with the church?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Actually, mom and dad.
Okay.
So he graduated from Madison, and then also did some graduate work down at the UW Whitewater. And at that point in time, they were involved in the youth ministry. And this couple would have them back when we used to have people over for Sunday afternoon lunches and all that stuff on there. Since both the parents were, distances away, they would have them over almost every Sunday. And they were involved in the youth group. And so that relationship grew. Well, it was their daughter that was saying, well, I have this girl that we'd like you to meet. And tried to do that at like a potluck or whatnot. And at that point in time, I was working at Top Hat and was on call a lot. So that was, for whatever reason, every time that it was an opportunity was there, I was typically on call. So
right.
It was just not working out in that regard. So
life at Top Hat.
Right. Yeah.
Tom went into heating and cooling in La Crosse. I didn't mention that tech school. A couple of years, came back to the area and started working in town here. So you both were, had your full-time jobs, and so you were kind of being set up by. I thought it was Carl's Wort and Jan, but no, it was another connection through the church.
Correct.
And so then the first time they said, well, we're having this potluck and we want you to bring your boy with you to your folks.
And,
and you were told, Tom, this is what's happening. Were you kind of like, yeah, Mom and Dad, find me somebody?
No,
no.
Diane is her name, was trying to set that up on there, trying to play matchmaker. I don't know if she watched Fiddler on the Roof. And
yeah.
No, she's not the type of person for being a matchmaker.
Okay.
But just wanted me to meet her. And like I said, the opportunities hadn't been coming together. And so it was coming up to be where we were meeting the family down at the Heritage House down in Madison on the east side of town. It used to be a big buffet place, and they asked if they could bring her. And it was like her chess place, and you get there, and now it's checkmate, right? You have to.
Here, give me that.
No, that's fine. I'll just
that?
put it down here.
I just don't want you to hurt yourself.
No, that's hurt Carrie. It's going to be a paper cut right there. So she, they asked and said, yeah, that'd be fine. But I did play this, whole deal out of it being a blind date. I wanted to make sure that, there was no questions, that this is just a meeting.
Just a meeting,
versus, any sort of commitment.
Okay, and what did you hear? Let's get you up to speed. You had heard, hey, that we've got somebody you want to meet, and you said, okay, sounds good.
It took a while. I think I'd met your parents first. They came to the church, and I met them. And then I don't think I realized it was, I think I did actually, that it was they were your parents. And then finally, they invited me to go with them to Madison. And
This friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I or shouldn't I? Blind dates are
blind dates.
Scary.
So
they took you to Madison. It was
really
a double date.
A blind date. Yeah, it was just this family. So there were my mom and dad, Lloyd and Shirley, which was Diane's parents, and then Diane and Denny and then Carrie and I. So there was.
Okay, it was a group.
It was a group, so
Yeah,
it was
okay.
really not really threatening. And you're in a big restaurant, so
Yeah.
it was not like it was focal time on where
Right.
you had to kind of hold a conversation. It was
Yeah.
a good deal. Well, in that I put the requirements that she's going to buy her own meal. I mean, I was pretty. That was probably the meanest thing I've ever done right there.
Tom. What do you mean? You put the requirement?
It's not a date.
It's not a date.
So you said, I'll do this as long as it doesn't have the auspices of a date.
Correct.
Which would include, I'm making this sound a little better for you,
Yeah.
Tom. Which would include.
I've never used the word auspices, but
So you had this group meal that was platonic, but you were supposed to kind of see if, hey, would you like to maybe, and then did you ask her out? Come on, get me to something juicy here.
yeah. Well, I'm going to set you up for failure because it was 3 weeks later that I finally called her because I was, when we had met, I was on call the next weekend, and then it was hunting, and then I was on call. But then
Okay, that's okay, Tom. You
Yeah, just go on there.
He had good
So,
excuses. I think we
yeah.
all get that.
I'm
Okay.
just letting you know that my guy thought of how things go. I'm being practical. Why would I call? Because we're busy, right?
Right. And you were
so-
wondering, maybe he didn't take interest in me. Were you interested just hearing from him? He's seen microphone, Carrie. This is your-
Oh, sure.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's good looking. Very nice.
Yeah.
Personable.
Nice. Okay, good. And so then she did great, didn't she? And then you did make the call, and then you set up a time to actually take her out for a date.
Yep.
Did I get that right? Okay,
Went
nice.
down to Fort Atkinson and
Yep.
and then met her mom and dad. She had met my mom and dad a couple times now, and this was the first time meeting her parents. And then we just went out to kind of like our family restaurant here in town, just a small restaurant for dinner. And then came back and just was looking to meet and talk with her parents. There was a power outage of all things, so it was off for I think like 4 hours, and we're sitting in the dark talking for 4 hours.
Wow. Oh, man. I don't
And,
remember that story either.
And about the time that the power came back on, it was late. It was like 11 o'clock, and I still had to drive home.
Well, and that became a theme, Tom, I think you finally did your engagement in part just to avoid the hazards of driving back and forth. And Tom got into we don't have to go into the whole story, but a very serious near-death accident where the car actually Tom fell asleep and went so far over that the other car went this direction.
Correct.
And if Tom had woken up and quick corrected,
It would have been a head-on.
it would have been, just a disaster. So by God's grace, made it through that, learned lesson, be a little more careful with how late you stay at the Zabel house.
Wasn't my fault.
It wasn't your fault.
He was working like
Yeah.
80 hours, 60 hours.
He's
About
working so many
80 hours a week. We had gone on a missions trip in '98 to Israel, and or I shouldn't say we. I had gone there and actually got Carrie's engagement ring on that missions trip in Tiberias, Israel, which is by the Sea of Galilee, and bartered for it, which I do that in my spare time.
Yeah.
Knew all the ins and outs of that. But when I left, I was gone for 2 weeks. Our chimney sweep had given us 2 weeks notice, and when I returned, that was his last day. And so Roy Miel, the owner of Top Hat, I was the only one that was certified to be a chimney sweep. And he's asking me if I would do it. I said, Joe, you want me to not do service work? You want me to do that? He goes, no, I need you to do both. So it was working 6 days a week and really, really long hours. And that was a means of what led to that accident. Just
Okay.
burning the candle at both
Okay.
both ends.
All right, speeding up, you guys did end up marrying in 99, or was it 2000?
99, May
yeah.
1st, 99.
May 1st of 99. And then tell us a little bit about your decision to have a large family. Was that is this one family shot with, are those all just your kids?
Yep.
Yeah, that's your bunch. Was that, I mean, we had talked about, let's have 6 kids, and then the deliveries weren't what we were thinking they were going to be at all, and it got really hard. Was it just kind of one at a time, the Lord, or did you kind of envision? You were one of two, and then you had 7. Carrie, give us a little on this one. How did that come about? Not the details, but how did it come about?
I was going to say, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Come on.
In our marriage counseling, we were encouraged to discuss this as well. And when we did, my first thought was, okay, 4 to 6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then in order to compromise...
Mine was 2 right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Kind of taken after
That's what you had
our own,
seen, and yeah.
But then you met me at 4, so
Yep.
2 to 4. And then,
Oh, you won that one, Carrie.
well, after baby 1, I'm like, 4 is good. And then God's like, nope, surprise, I got some more for you.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of one at a time at a certain point, and
Just figured the Lord, is in control of
Yeah.
all those dynamics on there, and it was just something that, Lord will work through in those circumstances and give us the number of kids that He desires and designs for our family.
had you always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom?
Yes, I was looking for my MRS degree very early on.
Your MRS degree. Okay. Usually you go to college for that one. The kids go to college and get their MRS degree instead of, yeah. Okay, so you were, definitely one of the, and so Tom was able to, from the very, like you worked, I think, for the first couple of years. You guys stayed in that little apartment for a couple of years and bought your house in 2001,
Yes.
if I'm right, and then,
Yep. Like in January of 2001, we bought the Roloff's old house.
Yeah.
And then Eli was
Eli
born
was on
in,
the way.
in September there.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. And then, they have all sorts, let's see, do we have any other family pictures?
Yeah, I
with
think
the
we had a
kids?
couple wedding pictures of the whole family.
Okay.
There.
Oh, with your whole family. Was there most updated? I can't see. Is this Eli's wedding? Oh, is this Ruthie's over here? So Eli got married. That's their son. And then there's Ruthie and Jed are in here. And that's the whole family. That's the most recent of the family. And your decision to homeschool, but then also do some Christian school training too. You want to share a little bit about what your any reflections on those decisions, or any parenting advice, or is it kind of we just went for it and found our own path, or what have been some discipleship? Do you have any thoughts that would be an encouragement to families that are saying, well, what did you consider important or valuable lessons learned in parenting? Anything along that line? I know that was a lot.
You want to think about that for a little bit? All right.
Yeah.
Well, in regards to homeschooling, I think it was just a neat opportunity. We looked at, we grew up with the Wrights, and they were kind of the poster child of the church of homeschooling.
Pioneers.
Yeah, pioneers on there.
Seemed very odd back then, didn't it?
And then having...
John wasn't odd, but the idea of homeschooling was kind of, what?
And then having parents, your parents, and my dad was a physics and math teacher at the high school. Actually, Chuck Gunderson helped orchestrate us moving from Cambria to Baraboo and taking on a position here at the high school. Mm-hmm. And that was a couple years, and then moved on to engineering. But, education has been always an important thing. And it is a daunting task that, hey, I'm going to take on the responsibility of teaching our children. And yet that was just a good discussion with Carrie and I, and the Wrights and the Pereas and the Gunders, and it was kind of a network of people where it didn't seem like it was as daunting because other people were doing it, and the resources at that time was just really, kind of you could pick a curriculum and go with it, or you could pick and choose what you wanted to do. What this mathematic curriculum is better than there's other people, and kind of do that, and worked really good. It was a neat opportunity to primarily did the homeschooling and teaching and managing the home and all that stuff until we got to more of the upper levels of science and math. She just didn't care for those things on there. I did a good job, just more work questions came into play on there. But I look back at that. My cousins, Jay and Nancy, they were missionaries in Israel for 15, 20 years on there. They had homeschooled their whole children up through high school. And part of it was the necessity when they were actually raising support. But I remember her comment and that, it's every year you're just taking 1 year at a time. And, this year I need to be a kindergarten teacher and then a first grade teacher. And you're kind of going back to school. And her advice is, I think everybody should do that. Actually, diagramming sentences and all that make a lot more sense when you're not a high schooler and going through all those things on there. But important. And our dynamic kind of changed through Eli. We had in homeschooling primarily for sports reason. We had made a decision that at that time the school had not, a Christian school had not co-opt with Baraboo or vice versa. And that was really the only option to do that. But with homeschooling, you did have some other options that you can have classes, whether they were at the high school for shop classes or whatever. Being a homeschooler, they have opportunities in that regards to do too. So
I'm going to kind of cap this off, and I do want to say, though, a few words of commendation to the Davidsons. I want to finish there. But one thing I've really appreciated about the Davidsons is their dynamic together. And in particular, when I think of you two, I think of you being, you're supposed to be in a marriage, have this covenantal loyalty to one another. And I think sometimes, Carrie, when I think of Tom, and most of us who know Tom, if you know one thing, he's there for everybody. He's there for everybody, and that's including his time. And he's gone a lot, and he's always roaming around doing stuff. And I've just always liked the fact that, Carrie might sometimes express a concern and a desire, but you as much as you've kind of done that, even standing at our door for an hour, he's just standing at the door and can't get out of the hour house. Goodbye. The hour, and she loves this guy and is willing to look at the best of what he's doing. You could say, well, you fall short here or there, and you're doing this, and you're gone so much, and you could kind of just look at it
look for opportunities.
Yeah, if you were looking for opportunities to say Tom was falling short in that sense, you could. And yet, it's so easy to look at Tom and see the blessing that he is to everybody and to your home and to your family name and to your reputation and the way that it benefits everybody and your kids included. And you can look at it that way, and the fact that you choose to see it that way. And then conversely, Tom, when you talk to your guys, you say, they're like, I can't believe she lets you get away. I can't believe you. And I love Tom's line, you married the person you married. I married Carrie, and I have to be what Carrie needs me to be, and you need to be what your wives need you to be. And if she has an exceptional amount of grace at looking at those things, you have to figure out your own wives. And I think you have figured out Carrie, and that connection, I think, is. And then the other thing I want to say about you guys is that every church needs core. You have different layers, and everybody's kind of core. But you need people that are like 100% invested. When you say the church is in trouble, you know who's going to be to your right and to your left. And Tom and Kari, and they got a whole family of kids that are being raised that way. And it's just, now that I've seen it from the inner workings of staffing and being the senior pastor, it's just so invaluable to have core. And we don't look at it that way. We don't prefer core to these people, we love them all right? We love them all. And we'll go into the trenches and into the fires with anybody. And I'm doing that now. But it's so nice at the end of the day to have core families that get the mission, that aren't constantly wondering, why are we here? What are you doing? Why is the piano now? Why didn't we do but just love the Lord, encourage, and the church is built off of that core. So I'm very grateful for the Davidsons. And did they do a good job today? Did Kari do a great job today? Nice work, Kari. And Tom, as always. And I got a whole slew of pictures here. There's Tom and me way back in the day. And I don't know where they got this one, but that doesn't look like us. I guess it does.
That was Eli.
Did Eli come up with that?
Yeah, he put those together. Right
Okay.
there.
All right, let me pray. Lord, thank you for this time. And Lord, bless you for a family like the Davidsons, just invaluable to a church like this, and so valuable to me and to my family on a very personal level. So I thank you on both levels, for the Gundersons and for Walnut Hill Bible Church. Thank you for the Davidsons. Continue to bless them, Lord. Their journey's by no means close to being over, and just pray that you'd continue to walk with this family, Lord. Thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.